right, so welcome, Tahiti Seymour. How are you doing today?
Hi, good morning, Chelsea. Thank you for having me. I'm doing so well, thank you. I'm really happy to be on this platform that you've created and celebrating God, of course.
Yes, always at the heart of it. And it's quite a funny story on how we managed to connect to have you here today. The topic is strength built from the inside out. And in actual fact, Tahiti and I were in the gym when we sparked up this conversation. So you know God is working when he connects to powerfully devoted women who are taking care of God's temple, right? And coming together to collaborate, to share and give glory to God on the topic of how our faith has played such a huge part in building that strength, both on the inside and on the outside. So I'd love to jump right in and welcome you to All In by asking you, what does strength built from the inside out mean to you personally?
I find that I'm pulling on experiences from this past year as a contestant leading up to winning the title of Miss Cayman this year. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your support. But strength built from the inside out, I think that when we are in such situations like Miss Cayman or big life events, I think we can often run into negative situations as well. So I think strength is built on purpose, and you have to purposefully make time to develop your inner self.
Yes.
Instead of operating on the level of the negativity that may have affected you in the past, because that's not really conquering that situation. It's prolonging it within yourself. So I think that when you stay true to yourself,
Yes.
and you are grounded in who you are instead of trying to emulate those who have maybe hurt you or situations
Yes.
that may have brought you pain,
Yes.
you are defeating that by being.
And I love that you use the word grounding yourself, because it is quite a high pressure role, right? You are representing your entire nation on the world stage. And it's absolutely phenomenal what you accomplished. It was so incredible to watch you with such grace, handling yourself with such class. But I hear you when you say it's really important that you stay grounded, because being in the public eye must have made you feel at times quite in demand, quite almost in a goldfish bowl. How does somebody like yourself stay grounded? What tangible steps did you take to ensure that A, you didn't let it all go to your head, and B, you stay grounded in your purpose whilst, in this fantastic on this fantastic platform?
Definitely. That's actually a question I got at Miss Universe in the judging room. How do you kind of, I guess, not let it go to your head? Or some people say that when you win, you change. How do you stay true to yourself? And I pray daily,
Yes.
honestly. That really is a moment where I ground myself and I reflect. That's just part of my mental well-being routine.
Yes.
But staying true to my purpose, I definitely think that I had to do a lot of inner work, and I had to recognize the value of this role, and I had to make the decision daily to stay on top of why I'm here, why I signed up.
Yes.
So I'm very proud to be Miss Cayman, and I see the great honor that it is. So it took a lot to get here, and I wouldn't want to let a fleeting moment of pride or cockiness get in the way of what we've built to get here.
That makes perfect sense, because it's so important that you ground yourself in your why, especially in an environment where the requirement is that you hold yourself with confidence, because you can't go onto the world stage and not hold yourself as if you are confident, proud, as if the title doesn't mean something, because it does. But in the grand scheme of things, when thinking about your priorities and your greater purpose for your life, it wasn't simply about winning another accolade. It wasn't simply about the crown or the status as a woman of God. When we think about our why, that is what really ensures that we are able to show up authentically. And you said something beautiful. You said daily this was your practice. And this is something I coach my clients on, is you cannot just simply rely on your motivation. You cannot simply put your future in the hands of a empty, undefined vision or goal. It requires discipline, even on the days where you don't feel confident, even on the days where you are experiencing emotional dysregulation, pain, heartache, feeling tired, right? So you highlighted something beautiful about your why, and also that it must be an ongoing discipline to show up day in and day out. And I really love the way that you phrase that. So how did God show up for you in your lowest moments?
Yes, so I think God works in really mysterious ways, and you tend to not really understand why things are happening until later. You see that it was all in His way, His intricate way and design, His plan. But God shows up for me also in my inner circle, those concrete, solid people who continue to celebrate me and see my value and my worth. So I also suggest that to people, that you surround yourself with those core group of people, chosen family, as well as your blood family. Because I don't really believe in friendship. I believe in chosen family. So I think that's how God continues to show up through those life lessons.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, for those who experience doubt or feel like they can't hear God at times, right? Due to all of the noise. I've been there myself, where I'm trying so hard to be still. But actually, what we ought to be doing is trusting, is submitting, is serving, is being obedient, and recognizing that there are things that are outside of our control, that yes, we can control who we deem to be our chosen family, who we surround ourselves with, what we are absorbing, what we are exposing ourselves to, but the outcomes aren't necessarily within our control. And I think for me as well, personally, once I got to a point where I got comfortable with the discomfort, got comfortable with the not knowing, despite pressures, God then does work in mysterious ways. He does show up for us, and the results, as you quite rightly said, are phenomenal. And every single part of His design leads us to the point of our lives that He intended for us, right? Was there ever a point where you had limiting beliefs that crept in, fears or doubts, or, the effects of judgment from maybe even people that you didn't know?
Yes, I guess that's more of a local story. I mean, it's just, when you're preparing for the international competition, you're in the public eye. People may come with their suggestions and their advice on what I should do or say or dress. So I think that it's really valuable that people are offering themselves and their advice and encouragement. But I know that I have a rule for myself that you don't have to take everyone's advice, or you can pick and choose, because not everybody is credible or qualified to be advising us, especially since they're not trying to go where we're trying.
Yes, exactly. And having a clearly defined vision is the only way to be able to then mold your life in a direction that serves that vision, and to take action. Those are the three foundations of a growth mindset persona. It's having this vision that you want to achieve, and then altering your perspective rewiring your brain in a way that shuts down those limiting beliefs that we all have, and then taking action. And, you know, I love that you have managed to overcome those limiting beliefs and those fears, especially in a role that would require you to be quite under pressure. In what ways have you found you were able to refresh, regenerate, find renewal in your spirit whilst on such a big journey, right? A hugely impactful journey, not just for you, but for your country.
Yes. Miss Cayman has definitely been probably the most pivotal moment in my life to date. And I do find that there are a lot of energy draining things that are just part of the process. You know, you're building something in public, you're failing in public, you're winning in public. And I think that it's important for me to get grounded with those inner circle, like I just mentioned, my mother, you know, my closest friends, my chosen family. So just like really sharing where my mind is at, because sometimes people want to keep it inside what they're going through, but just sharing and just being honest about what you're feeling can help make more sense.
Absolutely. One of the things I loved from following your journey when you were abroad was you would share clips of you practicing, your posing, because there's a lot that comes into it, isn't there? It's not simply you do a catwalk and that's it, right? It's not simply public appearance. There's so much that comes into this. You are judged on so many different elements. Why was it important to you to show some of your flaws and some of your, I don't want to call it failings, because it was never failing, right? It was your learning. So why was that so crucial to you?
I love this question actually, because my coach for Miss Universe, she is the one who encouraged me to post that, where I was falling down over and over again. And I was so stressed out. I was like, oh my goodness, people are going to be so concerned about sending me up there. Like, why is she, you know, failing and representing us? But she's like, you're going to get better regardless. And I think it was Miss BVI who commented on it and said, this is much better than the videos where they're always perfect. And I just was like, okay, I see what my coach is saying now. It's allowing people to see me and just see me be.
See you as a learning, developing, growing, authentic, genuine woman. Because that's what you are, that's who you are, right? And it's beautiful because I think that showed another aspect to you as a person, to your attitudes towards this entire process. And authenticity is the key. It's something that, again, I coach a lot of my ladies on. Get comfortable with sharing your flaws and your failings and your falling down, because that's how we build human connection. And nobody, you know, can relate to you if everything they see about you is the highlight reel, right, on social media, because everybody struggles with pain. Everybody has some form of trauma. Everybody is carrying something, and that's why Cayman Kind in particular is something that is certainly very close to my heart as well. There are many aspects to a human being, many aspects to a woman. You are not a one-dimensional human being. Yes, you are Miss Universe, Cayman Islands, but there is so much more to you, right? You take pride in your body. You have other habits, other hobbies, and I'm sure in your downtime, you know, being fully made up is not something that you always want to do, or is it? Is that you in your downtime as well?
I think, well, before Miss Cayman, I think I spent 3 years of my life in London, and I would pretty much wear black, navy blue, or white on repeat. So Miss Cayman really called me to explore, you know, what is your style? And you know, people will try to suggest what I should wear sometimes, but it allowed me to say and take ownership, you know, hey, I don't think that's me. I want to wear this, and it's giving me that kind of agency over myself.
Love that. So I am forever reading Proverbs 31 to my daughter, and people have this big misconception. So she is clothed with strength and dignity and laughs without fear of the future. I read it to my daughter because she's quite an aspirational woman, and I think people get a Proverbs 31 woman wrong, because I think most people think that this can be restricting to women. This can be telling women how they ought to be, and it's, we have to be put in this box. But actually, she's an entrepreneur. She goes out and she buys land, and she's praised by her family, and she's clothed with strength and dignity. How did it shape your faith in a way, as a woman of God, in terms of your style and modesty as Miss Universe Cayman Islands?
Yes. I know that modeling is a huge aspect of being Miss Universe, and that's because it's an industry and you need to sell products and keep the business running. So I see that and I appreciate that. And there is a time where we're in a swimsuit on stage.
Yes.
But I know at my center what I really want to represent, and I always say to lead with the content of my character, not with my face or anything else. So I think just really focusing on what's in our minds. And Miss Universe, the difference is she has an opinion.
Yes.
She stands up even if her voice is shaking.
Yes.
So I think that's a key thing.
And you mentioned about having agency, right, over your life, over your style, all of it, over who you are. And that's a very, very important point. Setting boundaries is something that a lot of people, but in particular women, can struggle with. What advice would you give for women who feel it's quite a difficult task to set a boundary out of fear of disappointing people, out of fear of being seen as difficult? What advice would you give to them?
This is a great one, because I think we all as people have our own great ideas, and sometimes we may feel that people don't want to listen or we're not qualified enough. And when it comes to boundaries, I think it has more on what we do. It's more about what we do than what we're expecting of the other person. If someone is obviously infringing on our rights or telling us that our ideas are not valuable, it's about the distance we place between ourselves and them. It's not you need to change, it's you don't get access to me anymore. And I have learned this, especially when people are, kind of like sensory overload on the Miss Cayman about do this. It's still my year at the end of the day, and I'm trying to craft it in something I'm really proud of.
Yes. And that again speaks to your integrity, right? You have to really know who you are to be able to speak to what you believe in. Once we understand and we get to create and craft our identity, then that can be shaped around our morals, our values, our belief system, right? And again, we're not one-dimensional human beings, so there's lots of facets that go into that. But I think it's really important that the point you made is highlighted. It's not necessarily trying to change other people. It's not about fear of disappointing other people. It's about creating something, behaving in a way that later leaves you feeling proud of what you accomplished and your legacy and the impact you're making on the world. And sometimes we got to make it a little bit uncomfortable in order to do so, because regret hits harder than saying no. Regret hits harder than making things a little bit awkward sometimes, right? And I've learned that the hard way. But what you have to remember is your life is yours and yours alone. And at the end of your life, the only judge that we ought to be cognizant of is God, right? And really all of this won't matter in the way that we think it does in our earthly life. Yes, the impact is very important. Yes, your purpose is very important.